Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a legend of speed. But this weekend, it is full of SCCA amateur racers for the 58th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Over 900 drivers came here this weekend, but only 26 will kiss the bricks. Welcome back to the SCCA Runoffs, presented by Mazda. Our broadcast is. We thank you so much for being with us for this next race in the order, and that is for F Production. I love prod classes. They're always one of my favorites. My name's John Phippen. Tom O'Gorman seated next to me. You've got a little time in tin tops, but these prod classes are always entertaining.
They're going to be a blast, and as you can see, we are on drying/damp conditions here in Indianapolis. This is going to be a game of not only racecraft and best driving, but tire decisions, and maybe a little bit of luck.
Heading down to the Mazda track map, and once again, Mazda, the presenting sponsor of our broadcasts, as they present an idea of what this 2.6-mile, 14-turn circuit's all about. Take us through it, Tomo.
Sure. The first sector is the longest of it, a little over a minute in these cars. We started the start-finish line pretty close to the exit of turn 14 with a long and wide run down into turn number 1, a heavy braking zone. None of these cars have anti-lock brakes down into that turn 1 braking zone. Then a hard right into an increasing radius left and right again for turns 1, 2, and 3. Quick dab of the brakes for turn 4 for a fast right-hander, and then flat out through turn 5 into a carousel at turn 6. Drives almost like a skid pad before sweeping onto the back straightaway, the Holman straight at turn 6A. Nice and wide there, lots of options, but eventually you want to end up on the right side of the track to enter a fast sweeping turns 7, 8, 9, and 10. Each one get a little bit tighter than the last, and we've seen a lot of cars get stacked up through this section as well. Going to be important to be quick through this sector too before we come back up onto the banking at turn 11 for a braking zone on the banking at turn 12. Diving down into the infield one more time for turn 13 before sweeping towards turn 14. Of note, standing water at turns 1, 7, 11, and 14 have been forming, but we are again under drying conditions.
Thanks for that. Mazda is not only a great partner to the SCCA, it's also the most driven car in SCCA road racing. Spec Miata has the biggest field out of all 26 classes this weekend, with 92 drivers, 72 of which took the green flag in the Spec Miata race yesterday. As you can see the field arrayed down there on the starting grid. There's a whole bunch of Miatas in this field as well, but there's a few others thrown in, a Lotus Super 7 on the pole, some Honda Civics, a Volkswagen Rabbit. Let's head down to the third member of our broadcast team. Roaming the paddock is Hayward Wagner.
Guys, the jackets are off and the gloves are off. This is going to be a fight in F Production in drying conditions. Couple of cars to look for. Our pole sitter, Craig Kima. This car is 500, almost actually 700 pounds lighter than the cars behind it on the grid. Much narrower tires. He's on full wets. If it gets wetter, the lighter the car is, the more the advantage, a lot of people are saying, because as the grip goes down, you're hard to hold less car to the surface. Right behind him is a brand new build. This is Cliff Ira working with Jesse Prather on this car. The Honda Civic Del Sol reminds me of the lines of the old Fiat X19s. This car is the only one on the grid to roll off on tries. He's on the Hoosier Super Soft dry tires. Right beside him, Eric Prill in the Miata. He's on full wet. He won when we were here in 2017, also driving for Jesse Prather. These guys may team up. And fourth on the grid, Kevin Ruck. Ruck is another front-wheel drive guy. He's front-wheel drive with wets. So the two front-wheel drive cars, theoretically, that have the advantage in the wet, taking counter strategies. Wets for Ruck, dries for Ira, and oh, by the way, he's got a couple of medals from this class as well.
Indeed, if we look at the top 4, there are 8 gold medals among those drivers. So we've got a lot of experience right up at the front of this, and all 4 of them eclipsed Eric Prill's lap record set here back when he won his first championship in 2017. It was a 152.0 back then, a 151.0. They're a full second quicker.
They went really fast, and a couple of cars to keep an eye on. As you mentioned, a lot of Mazdas in this field, 22 out of the 39 starters to be in fact. They make up a majority, but then other cars sprinkled in as you see the shapes of all of the cars. We also got word that number 151 right there at the bottom of your screen is Mason Workman. That car is on an intermediate tire, by my understanding. Maybe splitting the difference, not full wet, not full dry, will be the key here. But this is going to be a fascinating race to see how it plays out. Different cars on different tires, and we won't know which one's best until about, well, 40 minutes from now.
Exactly, 40 minutes, let's hope, and hope we can keep it green all the way through as these drivers are just about to roll out behind the safety car. There goes Craig Kima, the defending champion. I'll introduce as much of the field as I can, but with 39 cars, we might not get all the way through it. Craig Kima in the 05 car out of the Ohio region, a 3-time and defending champion. He sports cars picked to finish atop the box. Cliff Ira from Kansas City, Missouri in the Kansas City region, the 2014 champion is Honda Civic. Eric Prill, also sports cars picked to be on the box out of the Kansas region, a 2-time winner most recently in 2019. Kevin Ruck, also picked by sports car to be atop the box on the 73. He is out of the Ohio Valley region, a 2-time winner most recently in 2015. There's the aforementioned Mason Workman on the intermediate tires on that 52 Miata out of the Ohio Valley region. Sam Henry out of the Ozark Mountain region is in the 137 Mazda Miata. Doug Weaver in the 33 out of the Detroit region is the winner of the Hawk Breakthrough Performer Award. That's for the driver who made up the most positions from Tuesday qualifying to Wednesday qualifying. Doug Weaver went up 10 places. Chuck Mathis out of the Silver Lakes region is the 2006 champion in a Volkswagen Rabbit. Michael Kamalian out of the Atlanta region in the 99 in a Miata. The 08 is Bill Hingston out of Colorado in a Miata. The 51 is Ken Kennard. He is Super Sweeps eligible out of the Atlanta region in a Miata. David Strickmatter out of the Ohio region in the 28 is in the Acura Integra, as is Rick Harris out of the Kansas region. He's the 2008 champion in the 8 car. Our highest placed rookie in the field, making his first runoff start, is Steven Simons out of the Houston region in a Miata, number 63. Taz Harvey, we've already seen him this runoffs in the 88 car from the San Francisco region. The 89 is Charlie Campbell, Super Sweeps eligible in his Mazda Miata. The 64 is Perry Simons out of the Texas region in a Miata. David Bednarz out of Detroit in a Miata. Mark Webber making his 61st runoff start. 62nd runoff start. That is the all-time record. He is in a Miata. The 3 of Mark McAllister from the Finger Lakes region in a Miata. The 07 Wade McBride out of Texas region in a Miata. The MGB of Gerald Lamb out of the Milwaukee region is car 42. Donald Aarons out of the Central Florida region in a Miata. Another rookie, Daniel Snow in the 24 out of the Cal Club in a Fiat X19. Larry Gallagher is in an Acura Integra out of the Ohio Valley region, car 69. James Samaras in the 95 out of the Milwaukee region in a Miata. The 188 of Paul Jensen from the Continental Divide region in a Miata. The 35 is Michael Hart from the Chicago region in a 1963 Turner 1500. Stefan Clark is a rookie out of the Salem, Virginia area in a Miata. Charles Guest, a rookie in the 20 out of the North Carolina region in a Miata. Dave Colby in the 154 out of the Watkins Glen region in an Acura Integra LS. This is his first race in this car. Ben Glauca out of the North Carolina region in an Acura Integra is car 31. Samuel Valenzuela out of the Texas region in a CRX car 75. Robert Keller out of the Chicago region in a Volvo P1800. Scott McAllister from the Finger Lakes region in a Rabbit. Chuck Bream is a rookie out of the Lone Star region in an MGB. Greg Seagart out of the East Tennessee region in a Miata. Spike Benning out of the Washington, D.C. region is a rookie in a Miata. And bringing up the field is Ryan Bream from the Lone Star region, car 131, a Triumph Spitfire. Ryan also making his first runoff start. Gosh, I got through them all.
Got through them all.
So the field making its way 2 by 2. A couple of champions at the front, Cliff Ira and Craig Kima. And that Lotus Super 7, the lightest and certainly most nimble car here, but not necessarily great in a straight line. Those fenders make great parachutes to slow that car down at the top end of the straight. Eric Prill broke through, won his first championship right here. And he's going to try to make championship number 3. But Kevin Ruck next to him in that front-wheel drive Acura, he is going to be tough. Here they come. Ruck ducks to the inside between the 2 front rows. And just as we suspected, tough for Craig Kima to keep the momentum going. Cliff Ira goes to the front. Kevin Ruck right alongside him. Heavy on the brakes with Ruck out in front. The 137 of Sam Henry makes a big move up into second place. So Sam Henry making it done, swinging around the outside. The 08 car of Bill Hingston also making a great start. A spinner right in the middle of the track, the 52 of Mason Workman on those intermediate tires that may have caught him out, Tom.
And that's Michael McCamalian on the outside in the grass. Looks like he might have stalled that car. Now look for the drivers that are on the slicks to be pretty cautious at the beginning of this race. There was another driver that was super aggressive into turn one. Bill Hingston in the number 08 swept from 10th. He's in that orange and yellow car challenging for third. Now Ira in the Del Sol on those dry tires, going to be taking it pretty easy, but Ruck charges to the front in the Integra. He's on those wet tires. Every second counts. If it starts to dry, he's in trouble.
Rabbit of Chuck Mathis right next to him as they swing through turn A and on their way down the Holman Straight. As we've got a great start here for Kevin Ruck, as we suspected. That car is absolutely almost unbeatable in the dry. And I would expect in these conditions, he's got an advantage as well. As you can see, he leads the parade onto the Holman Straight as they work their way into the S's now. There's the 54, the Rabbit of Chuck Mathis, giving chase to the 08 of Bill Hingston, who started back in the 5th row and is already up in the top 5.
Yeah, it's a great charge, and Mathis made a commanding move at turn 7 to get up to this 4th position. Remember, Ira is on those dry tires. The Del Sol, that kind of blurple colored Del Sol, will be very cautious at the start of this race. Ruck looking very confident, as is Sam Henry in the 137, the blue Miata sitting second. But the Charger, again, we've said it once, Bill Hingston from 10th to 3rd, but now with a mirror full of Volkswagen Rabbit.
Coming on through turn 14 for the first time, up onto the front straightaway. The rain has definitely slacked off and the track is drying, but not dry. So those drivers that made the gamble to start this race on slicks might have something to do about it. As you can see, all of the wet tire runners going offline and finding water to keep those slicks, to keep those wet tires as cool as possible. Sam Henry in that 2nd spot in the Miata, then Hingston, then Mathis, then Ira. Eric Prill, the 2-time champion, in 6th. Charlie Campbell right behind him. They've got some history in the 89 cars they got together at Daytona some years ago.
Under local yellow there into turn 1, if you were wondering why no one looked like they wanted to pass. They were not allowed to, so everything's staying single file, and I'm trying to tell if the white Miata sitting at about 7th is Charlie Campbell. It looks like it is, from 16th on the grid, sitting 7th. He's always a factor in F production. We were confused as to where he was in qualifying. Well, he's making himself a factor here in this race.
Absolutely, and you know, we have the Sunoco Hard Charger Award. Sunoco, the official fuel of the SCCA. At the end of the race, timing and scoring does the tabulation, and the driver who makes up the most places from his qualifying position to finishing position wins that Sunoco Hard Charger Award. So Charlie Campbell certainly will be in the running for that. As you can see, Eric Prill in that silver and red Miata, closing quickly on the back of Chuck Mathis in that Rabbit. As Prill getting a little more comfortable in these conditions, but the Rabbit dives right back inside the 36 of Cliff Ira to take over that position. So Ira coming under challenge now from Eric Prill. So the Del Sol and the Miata, they look a lot alike, but that roll bar on the Del Sol gives it away.
And the Del Sol is, of course, still a front-wheel drive car. We saw massive straight line speed out of this car in qualifying. He actually was able to motor completely past Chuck Mathis down the back straightaway towards turn 7, but obviously still on those dry tires, a little bit cautious into the braking zone, and Mathis maintained the position. A little bit of lockup from the number 8 of Rick Harris in the newer Integra in the background. That's the silver and bright orange car, and he is now trailing as Chuck Mathis, mechanical issue, pulls off to the side. Everyone goes around him, maybe misses a shift, still circulating and stays on track.
Right behind Charlie Campbell is the other Acura of Rick Harris, as you said. Craig Kima, the pole sitter, shuffled all the way back at the end of the first lap to a 9th position. As we can see, Charlie Campbell and Eric Prill running in formation as they run offline to try to get some water on those rain tires to keep them cool. But the 08 of Bill Hingston running in 3rd spot, about 6 seconds behind the leader, Kevin Ruck, in the Del Sol of Ira, then Prill, then Campbell, working their way through turn 2.
Greg Kima continuing to slip. He's about 11th on track right now, so he's essentially removed himself from this race entirely, as has Kevin Ruck, but Kevin Ruck's doing it in the right way. He's checked out in the lead by 3 seconds, then another 3 seconds back to Bill Hingston, and there we see Chuck Mathis. Tight stuff. The 47 gets turned across Mason Workman, who's having a heck of a eventful race. Ooh, the 47's going to have to release that clutch nice and easy to get out of the gravel.
That 47 is David Bednarz from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And hopefully he can gently get that car moving, because that gravel will swallow that car if he spins the wheels.
Nice move by Rick Harris around the outside of Charlie Campbell, and unfortunately it does look like he's beached.
We'll get the replay of this as he and Mason Workman were arguing over turn 4. And as they went through, I don't think Bednarz saw Workman there. I think he might have been a little over enthusiastic. Workman trying to recover from that first lap spin, and he stuck his nose in there maybe a little too aggressively.
Yeah, certainly feeling the pressure to charge back, and we are going to go to full course yellow, which is a nightmare for Kevin Ruck, who had extended that lead out so well. And as we mentioned at the beginning, every millisecond counts when you're on these wet tires in drying conditions, because they do fall off so hard, and especially if they start to come apart as they overheat on that front-wheel drive car. Really disappointing to see for Kevin Ruck. The 137 of Sam Henry was keeping him honest too.
Yeah, and Kevin Ruck, that Integra is one of the heavier cars in the field, and considering the fact that it's front-wheel drive, he's going to have to be really careful not to burn the tires off. So we've got an update from our pit reporter, Hayward Wagner. Hayward, what's up?
Yeah, guys, well, we've got a break in the action. A lot of people might be watching at home thinking, how can I get involved in this? And Mazda's got a great plan to help people with the new spec MX-5 series. Michael Borden, one of the drivers in that series. Michael, tell me a little bit about the platform.
So the platform is a third generation NC Miata. It's a year after the NA and NB that runs in spec Miata. So that has a little more horsepower, about 30 more horsepower than the spec Miata. So it's quite a bit quicker on track, so it makes a lot more fun to drive, in my opinion.
Now, we've got spec Miata. We've had spec Miata for a long time. Why do we need a new spec class? What's different here?
Like I said, it's a little faster, a little quicker. It also kind of, in my opinion, it's a little bit better for driver development. It's kind of easy to get a lot out of it, but that last little bit is a little trickier, and it really makes you have to push the car and drive it really well to get everything out of it.
And if folks would like to get involved, learn about it, where can they go?
You can go to, I believe it's specmx5.com. There's all kinds of info on there with the rules. Contact them, who to reach out to if you have questions, and everything like that. So.
Guys, you were talking about at the start of the show, more people race Mazdas than any other brand, and more Mazdas coming to a racetrack.
Thanks, Hayward. Appreciate it. We can see that David Bednarz has been extracted from the gravel trap. He'll catch up to the back of the pack. Sadly, I think he has gone a lap down, but we got a shot there during the break of Craig Kima, the pole sitter, back in 10th position. Chuck Mathis, falling like a stone here after battling for the top positions, has gone all the way back to 9th. So I don't know whether Rabbit has a problem or if he's just scared himself and taken it easy for a bit. Mason Workman may be penalized for that move that took out Bednarz. We'll see. He's recovered back up into 8th position. Charlie Campbell was just passed by Rick Harris in the Acura just as we went to break. Eric Prill in the 5th spot. Bill Hingston up into 4th, with Cliff Ira retaking that position from him in the Del Sol. Sam Henry in the Miata in 2nd, but Kevin Ruck had a big lead prior to this full course yellow.
He did, and he was the fastest car on track by a couple of seconds, but we have 3 Hondas and 3 Miatas in the top 6. It's a great opportunity for a couple of drivers who had poor starts to respond and get a new chance at life. There's one of them, is our pole sitter, Craig Kima, slipping from 1st to 11th in the first lap and a half or so of this 19-lap race. See if maybe he found a little bit more confidence in those 2 laps and can take a little bit more aggressive start this time.
Dave Colby, the driver I mentioned that is making his first runoff start. This is his first race start in this car. He just got the car. I know his son Kyle Colby really well. He works timing and scoring for us in the F4FR series and talked a bit about his dad's efforts here. So good luck to Dave as he makes his first runoff start in that brand new, to him at least, Acura Integra. The 188 of Paul Jensen circulating around a little deeper in the pack. The safety car has pulled back up onto the banking, turning the field over to Kevin Ruck and Sam Henry as they work their way through turn 13, coming down into the sweeping turn 14 that's tighter than it looks. In dry track conditions, easy flat for these guys, but in these conditions, Tomo, they're going to have to feather the throttle to get through there.
They are going to have to be careful, and Kevin Ruck's going to have to be careful in how he manages this green flag. It's a pretty big stack up, actually. He was very patient, and that's going to allow a big jump from Cliff Ira.
Yeah, the Del Sol has got some motor, does it not, as it pulls right alongside Sam Henry. But Henry recovering a bit as he's got good top end at the big end of the straightaway. Kevin Ruck locks him up as he breaks down into turn number 1. Henry maintains the position. Eric Pearl sweeps around the 0-8 of Bill Hingston to move himself up to 4th.
Beautiful power move for Prill to get up to 4th position there. Now the Hingston car slips back just 1 position. Charlie Campbell has made his way back by Rick Harris, but Harris wants the position, knifes underneath Charlie Campbell up into turn 4. Hingston also challenging Prill again. This is great racing for 3rd.
Absolutely, and Charlie Campbell wants that position back as he tried to deny it to him, as we see Ruck coming down into this long turn number 6. We call it the skid pad because that's about what it's like, as Eric Prill has moved around Cliff Ira to move up into 3rd spot. So Prill, a 2-time champion, looking for a reprise of his first championship, won right here in 2017. But Cliff Ira coming back. He cuts that turn 6A just a little bit closer as a little bump drafting going on between Bill Hingston and just behind him the 36 of Cliff Ira in the Del Sol.
I think Cliff Ira is driving a very smart race. He's got the car underneath him, and every time someone tries to make a move on him, he says, "Yep, all yours. I'm not gonna take this one yet." But as the track gets drier and drier, it's not gonna dry very quickly. The sun is not out; it's pretty moist in the air. But that Del Sol on the dry tires, it's just gonna get quicker and quicker. Where everyone else is likely gonna stabilize, if not get a little bit slower. Kevin Ruck starting to extend his lead just a bit over Sam Henry, and taking is that Eric Prill with him.
Exactly, yeah. Prill is right up there behind Sam Henry in the 3rd spot as they work their way through. And all of these guys on wet weather tires, so they're tiptoeing just a little bit, as the fact that Cliff Ira is able to run with them in these conditions on dry weather tires.
Oh, in the background, Chuck Mathis gets into the back of Charlie Campbell and turns him. Doesn't complete the job, so Charlie Campbell can resume forward. Craig Kima goes through, as does the 33 of Doug Weaver. A little bit of contact there.
Mathis able to continue, however. Charlie Campbell trying to get back up to speed as a couple of the other Miatas trying to close down. But this battle between Rick Harris and Bill Hingston continues unabated, as does the battle between the Del Sol of Cliff Ira and Eric Prill.
Cliff Ira had a huge slide through turn 1, but kept his foot in it. The front-wheel drive of the Del Sol saving him. Rick Harris gets the job done again on the 08. 8 versus 08. Good thing the cars look very different.
Exactly right. We have enough trouble keeping track of who's who right here, as so many of these cars, like you say, with 22 of them, I think you said, being Miatas, and the color schemes sometimes be the only thing that pay us off. It looks like the 54 Mathis maybe just a tad off the pace. Maybe that contact, you can see there's a little bodywork damaged on the right front corner. I don't hope that's not rubbing a tire, but it sure looks like it might be.
Fastest lap of the race last time across the line was Kevin Ruck by only 0.3 over Sam Henry. Eric Prill was right there as well, and then it's a little bit of a gap back to Cliff Ira, but Ira looking confident this lap. He started to pull away from Prill. Whoa, Charlie Campbell dirt tracking it, slinging the mud up onto the Holman straight.
Yeah, and also resurgent is Craig Kima right behind Charlie Campbell. So keep an eye on Kima. He is the 3-time and defending champion of the class in that Lotus 7, the only Lotus 7 in the field. Unusually, as we've got a spinner up on the banking. That's the 188 of Paul Jensen. Looks like he is someone made contact, and we've got some debris. That is coming off of turn 14 right up onto the main straightaway. Right now they're handling it with a local yellow, but we can see some body work not only up on the banking, but also right there on the racing line. But at the moment, they're covering it with a local yellow, as Kevin Ruck coming through that position right now.
Be curious if there was any help with that, but that is where a lot of that standing water is coming off of the banking. It runs right down onto the track out point, or the apex point essentially, of the acceleration zone, as Kevin Ruck drives right through it, back to full course caution, and Kevin Ruck has to be so frustrated. He needed this race to go green, and he needed to use those wet tires as long as possible. Look at the different choices here. The cars on wets driving through the water to keep the tires cool. The car on dries, Ira, driving on the dry line to keep the tires hot.
Exactly right. So we are going to go full course yellow. We understand that Jensen had some help. He spun and then got clipped by another car. I don't think that bumper was from his car. It may have well been behind or from the clipper. So that's what brought out this second full course yellow. As we've got about 25 minutes remaining in this, and we've got our second full course yellow. Let's take just a moment to get some thanks from our friends at Haggerty and Mazda.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed?
When the finish line calls, we answer. Hit the road with insurance protection from Haggerty. Whether you drive a built racer, sports car, or exotic, and save an average of $264. Get a quote today at Haggerty.com.
Welcome to that magic realm. Between here and there, a no man's land, and everyone's land. Where great expectations grow, and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive. More power for your pursuit.
Welcome back to Haggerty Race Day for F Production as part of the 58th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs, as we are under our second full course caution for a spinner, Paul Jensen, just at the outside of turn number 12. So safety crews hopefully will make quick work of that. There was a little debris on the racing line that they'll have to pick up. So hopefully they can get that out of the way and we'll get back under green flag conditions pretty quickly. We'd like to thank Sunoco, the official fuel of the USA, and also sponsor of the Sunoco Hard Charger Award, awarded to the driver who makes up the most positions from his starting position to finishing position in this race, his order, I should say. So thanks again to Sunoco for making the racing possible for us. So Kevin Ruck with the lead, and as you said, Tomo, probably not wanting to see all of these full course yellows, although that may be a little bit of a double-edged sword. Tire life could be an issue, so maybe these slower laps give him a chance to extend the life of those tires a little bit?
It could have, but the difference there is if he were to be running green flag laps this entire time, he would almost certainly be leading to the tune of something in the form of seconds.
Yeah.
Now he has absolutely no lead other than that car width back to Sam Henry. So all the meanwhile, Cliff Ira has been gaining information, has been gaining confidence. We saw that he had actually gone fastest personal best sectors 1 and 2 on the lap that we went to full course caution. So he was really mounting a charge towards those front 2 cars, and I think that he'll pretty much start off where he left off at this green flag.
And every moment that it doesn't rain plays right into his hands because he is on dry weather tires. And I think he had a good look at the weather radar before this race, and he and his crew made the decision to gamble, if that's what you call it, to start on the dry weather tires. And you would have thought that maybe, you know, while the track was at its wettest, he would have tumbled back down the order, hoping to have the momentum as the track dries to take advantage of these rain tires going off, but he stayed right at in the thick of it since the drop of the green flag. That certainly bodes well for him in that Del Sol.
Yeah, he did a great job to make smart choices. He basically let everybody take the positions when they wanted them. He stayed out of the way, didn't put himself in any dangerous spots. We saw him slip and slide just a little bit. He didn't have it easy, but he kept himself in the hunt, and I think with 21 minutes to go, probably if we go green this or next time, we're looking at maybe 18 to 20 minutes of green flag racing. He will have plenty of time to let those tires come up to temperature, and I got to put my money on him driving away when he gets there.
Yeah, Cliff Ira won his only gold medal so far at Laguna Seca in 2014 in Super Touring Light. So this class, not too far removed, just a slightly different rule set, but that Del Sol is one that you don't see much in SCCA competition. And he's got the only one in this field.
And you can see how cool it looks with the windshield hacked off and then covered up almost the entire cockpit except his helmet sticking out. Steering wheel even completely eclipsed by that. Valence covering up the cockpit. Very cool looking car, but it does, you're right, turn into a pretty Miata looking silhouette when you do that to a Civic Del Sol.
Makes you wonder if that leading edge of that fairing that they put on there is going to be hard on the knuckles. It looks like it's right at steering wheel, like he can slice through his driving gloves. But oh well, I'm sure that's not the case. You can see Eric Prill right there behind him, and then Rick Harris in the Acura, the silver and black color, and then the brilliant livery on that 08 Miata of Bill Hingston, the yellow and orange livery. Mason Workman, another driver gambling on tire choice, as we mentioned, he's on an intermediate tire, so he's kind of halfway in between. He's got the best of both worlds. He's already spun once and been involved in another off-course excursion, so you know, he's made it pretty good to be up into 7th place. And we saw him behind the safety car, also like Cliff Ira, running on the dry portion of the course. So he's pretty confident that he's not going to overheat those intermediates.
Yeah, he was actually got a little bit of help at turn 1 to end up backwards. He crossed the start-finish line on lap 1 in 14th position, but I think he was actually outside the top 20 when he got pointed the right way and going. He's been super aggressive, which is where we saw the second coming together for him. So the 52 has not had the smoothest race, but I do think that that's among the stronger cars on the track as well.
Mason out of the Ohio Valley region. This is his 16th runoff start. His best finish was a year ago in this race at Road America, where he finished on the box in 3rd. So we're going green this time by. The safety car is pulled off onto the banking. Kevin Ruck brings Sam Henry and the rest of the gang around turn 13. Cliff Ira in the Del Sol. Eric Prill right behind him. And Rick Harris in the Acura. So Acura, Miata, Honda, Miata, and Acura in your top 5 positions. Here they come. You can hear the revs come up as the green flag flies.
Kevin Ruck learned his lesson, didn't back the field up nearly as much, turned the acceleration up a little bit sooner in turn 14, and here comes the Del Sol so fast in a straight line. Ruck sees him coming, protects just a little bit, but Sam Henry is going to be side by side with Cliff Ira as they turn in for turn 1. Rick Harris also attacking Eric Prill.
Right down in the inside, Harris has to take a lot of curb, and that opens the door for Prill to retake that position. But Cliff Ira, again, being very cautious because I think he can afford to be. He's just hoping this stays green from here on out so he can begin to take advantage of those dry weather tires. But Eric Prill, realizing time's a wasted, he needs to get in front of that guy if he can and try to keep him behind him. As they work their way through turn 4, down into turn 5 and 6, this long left-hander. Is Prill going to take the qualifying line, try to go around the outside. Didn't work out quite as well, but that may set him up for a run here into 6A. And Sam Henry right on the back bumper of Kevin Ruck as they come right out at the edge of the Holman Straight. And Ruck quickly gets back over to driver's right, which is where he wants to be, to smooth out the apex of turn 7.
Looks like the second half of this Holman Straight into turn 7 and through the S's is the wettest portion of the track, as this is where Ira kind of backs off the pace. He starts to become a little bit of a roadblock for Eric Prill and the rest as they work their way through. You can still see a significant amount of standing water, a little bit of moisture flying, but as long as he just kind of keeps it cool and collected through there, no, it's not a great passing opportunity, so it's not the worst place to be slow. Meanwhile, Kevin Ruck pulls away again from Sam Henry. This is a carbon copy, 3 for 3 every time that green flag goes in the air.
Ruck dives down out off the banking into turn number 12. Right behind Eric Prill, the Mazda's all in a line. Rick Harris in the Acura, and Hingston Workman and Charlie Campbell all together as Campbell got around Chuck Mathis in the Rabbit to get up right behind Mason Workman. Mathis in that orange Rabbit just behind him.
Workman was hunting for sight lines and ended up with his right sides in the grass as he turned in for turn 13. It was a sketchy moment for him, but he kept it together. That's the gray with the red, white, and blue stripe Miata way back in the back of frame there. Now Cliff Ira has finally completely cleared Sam Henry going into turn 1. Conservative on the brakes, but they're going to end up door handle to door handle, sweeping through turn 1. There is only one dry line. Yes, Ira, again, very conservative.
Looks like Henry a little better on the brakes as they were side by side. He was able to go a little deeper on the brakes into that damp braking area for turn 1. So he's still a little more confident. But Ira now has solidified his hold on second spot. He's going to try to go with Kevin Ruck if he can.
Interesting note from Hayward Wagner on the pit lane. It's drizzling just a little bit. So this could be bad news for Ira, great news for Ruck, Henry, Prill, Harris, Hinkson, and the rest who are all on those treaded rain tires.
Yeah, everybody but Workman. But even Workman on intermediates might be able to hang in there if it doesn't get totally wet. Kevin Ruck trying to drive away here at the front as we've got about 15.5 minutes remaining. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, timing and scoring has determined that we won't get all the laps in, so this has turned into a timed race. 40 minutes is the time limit for each of our races. This Eric Prill going side by side with Rick Harris in the Acura. Harris hanging tough as they work their way through the S's.
It's a new car for Rick Harris, but a former national champion in this class with Mark Carpenter at the wheel back at the Mid-Ohio days. Harris was a B-Spec contender last year and is now back with this Integra this year. It's pretty new to him, but he's looking more and more confident every single lap. And look who he brings with him. Mason Workman drives by Eric Prill as well. They both move up one spot this lap.
Rick Harris was a national champion some years ago, back in 2008 at Heartland Park in F production, in a different car for sure. So he certainly knows his way to gold medal territory. Mason Workman right behind him. I wonder if Prill's got a problem. He has definitely lost 2 positions here on this lap. It makes you wonder if he's a little off the pace for some reason. Seems to be still on it as he's going to duck over and try to get some water on those rain tires. Maybe the tires are going away for him. Mason Workman right on the back of Rick Harris, but this battle at the front is a dandy. Wet weather tires versus dry weather tires. 2 front-wheel drive cars at the front. It's Kevin Ruck holding off a challenge in the Del Sol with Cliff Ira. What motor does the Del Sol have?
I would assume a similar motor to the car, the Integra, probably a 1.8 liter VTEC motor, or maybe a 1.6 liter VTEC motor. I'm not sure exactly, but we've certainly crossed over the point from it being kind of a wash on wet or dry tires. I think the dry tires are absolutely by far the fastest on the track right now, and Ira backs that up with a new fast lap of the race to the tune of almost 1 full second over Kevin Ruck's fastest lap.
As does Mason Workman on the intermediate tires, up to 3rd now as he sweeps around Sam Henry to move up into that spot. Now here comes Cliff Ira side by side with Kevin Ruck. Ruck may be a little defenseless here as they come into the braking zone for turn 7. Ira should be able to get around the outside, but he, again, being very cautious. He doesn't want to play his hand too early.
Yeah, this is the dampest spot on the track, and he knows it, so he's just going to let Ruck have it this lap, but he was able to put the power down and really almost motor Ruck completely down the Holman straight. So if he can get a little closer next lap, or maybe even clear him by the start-finish line or down the front straight this lap, he'll be able to kind of take his time through that section next time. Look at the dry patches. You see the light spots on the seams between the lanes there on the pavement as they transition up onto the banking. It's getting drier and drier.
Nose to tail are they as they come through turn number 12 into 13, which sets up for the final turn at turn 14, the most important turn on the racetrack. Ruck goes a little wide right out to the gator's teeth, but then pretty good change of direction in that actor. He's got it pretty well set up as he comes onto the front straightaway. He's definitely got some grunt, but here comes Cliff Ira. He's got to run. Ruck is over in the wet trying to cool off those tires. Ira may be able to blow by him here. We'll see how they do on the brakes. But Ira with a nose in front. At the moment, he is going to get it done. Cliff Ira, your new leader, as the dry tires bring that car to the fore.
Clears him pretty comfortably too. You can see exiting turn 13 just how much sharper the power down and the direction change was for the Del Sol versus the treaded tires on Kevin Ruck. And now Ruck is pretty much going to give up on Cliff Ira, I would bet, and focus on Mason Workman, who's coming quick as well. Workman actually the fastest car on track last time through by well over a second from Cliff Ira's previous best lap time.
Yeah, he set the fastest lap of the race so far, a 2:03.0. And here he is challenging Kevin Ruck. These two know each other well. They both race in the Ohio Valley region. Mason goes around Ruck, so Ruck, I think, may be running out of tire. I think he may have burned those front tires to the ground a bit, and he is running into trouble maintaining pace.
And even if the tires are in good shape, they are treaded. The tread blocks move around a lot. The car is just going to be a little bit more vague, a little bit more floaty, and they can only do so much. In these conditions, I would assume that the dry tires are going to be 1 to 2 seconds a lap faster and just going to continue to get quicker and quicker relative to those wet tires.
So Mason Workman up into a silver medal position as we've got about 11 minutes remaining in this one. As these drivers come through turn 10 out of the S's into the final segment of this racetrack. Nice and smooth up on the banking, driest part of the racetrack perhaps right here. You can see pretty much a dry line coming down through turn number 12 and on to 13. And a little residual dampness on the front straightaway, up closest to the pit wall mostly. So Kevin Ruck still in a medal position as it runs right now. But Cliff Ira showing his heels to the rest of the field. Let's check the lap times. He just set the fastest first sector of the race on that last lap. And timing and scoring resets will check his ultimate lap time. As Ira sets a new fast lap, a 2:01.6. And he's opened up a 4-second lead over Mason Workman. Workman sets his personal best. It's about 2 seconds, excuse me, as timing and scoring updates. So both the Del Sol and the Miata of Workman setting personal bests on that last lap. Cliff Ira looks very serene in that position. That car is just ruler flat. He's nice, easy lines through it. The battle continues back between Charlie Mathis and Bill Hingston. Those two have been, it's a good thing that they're similarly colored. You won't be able to tell how much paint transfer there's been between those two.
Yeah, you were mentioning serene. What is not serene is this battle, which is for about 8th. It's Mathis, Hingston, and Weaver. And they're going to be joined pretty quickly by Donald Ahrens in the red Miata just behind. He was one of the quickest cars on track last lap through and has been charging forward pretty quickly.
Ahrens out of Waldo, Florida, in that number 61.
And he came from 23rd on the grid.
Yeah, so he's certainly in the running for the Sunoco Hard Charger Award. Bill Hingston in that Miata. The 33 right next to him, Doug Weaver, and then Ahrens. So the three Miatas giving a little breathing room to Chuck Mathis this time. As the Miatas go 3 wide and a little bump drafting going on in the middle of the S's.
The 08 of Hingston in the yellow and orange looks pretty nervous. He's a little bit twitchy. I wonder if he's on a maybe intermediate or even dry tire. I doubt it based on his performance early in the race, but I would put money on the 61 of Ahrens being on dries as he's come up so quickly through the field just in the last lap and a half or so.
About 8.5 minutes left as we follow this battle for 8th position. Mathis in the 8th right now. Then Hingston. Ahrens had it briefly, but then it looks like the 33 of Weaver able to get back around. Now here comes Ahrens again. You're right, I bet he's on dry tires because he was able to just motor around it.
Ira and Workman basically the exact same lap time at the top of the field. Ruck comes through. He's 5 seconds now off the pace of the other cars around him. So that gives you an idea of just how good the dry tires are when it is actually dry. We're watching Donald Ahrens motor past a couple of Miatas of similar prep, but I'm suspecting that red Miata on the inside is on the dry tires, the other two on wets. Oh, look at Doug Weaver, big power move. It's not going to pay off. Locks the brakes and misses the turn in for turn number 1.
Hingston late on the brakes, but it cost him his exit, and that opens the door for Ahrens to try to go around the outside. Not quite able to do it. He has to fall back in single file. These three putting on a dandy battle just outside the top 5. Again, Ahrens in the 10th place. Hingston just in front of him in 9th. So this battle going on right at the cusp of the top 10. As I said, Ira and Workman both setting laps at the 2-minute range, 2 minutes, 0.7 for both of them out in front.
I agree with you that there's something going on with Eric Prill's car. He has just succumbed to the pressure from Charlie Campbell and slipped to 7th now. So unfortunately for Prill, he will not repeat at the Indy Motor Speedway. He'll just have that 1 gold medal from here 5 years ago. A little bit unfortunate, but his pace has slipped pretty significantly, and he's actually going to end up in this battle pretty soon.
Ahrens and Hingston side by side. Ahrens, oh man, they are laying some metal on one another. Absolutely, but keeping it together, not spitting each other out. That was pretty much direct side-to-side contact. They can knock a valve stem off, if nothing else. They need to be careful. Ahrens trying to go around the outside of turn 11 as they head toward turn 12. Ahrens is going to sweep back to the inside late on the brakes. If he can keep it, he's got it done. But Hingston not giving up easily. Now let's see if Ahrens has got anything for Mathis now that he's cleared Hingston. Ahrens right on the back of the Rabbit. Again, the Rabbit may be a little wounded because of the tire choice. Ahrens, we're guessing, on dry tires, really beginning to flex his muscles. Mathis goes over to the wet part to try to cool those tires off. Ahrens maybe not with quite as much top end as that Rabbit has. As the Rabbit seems to be pretty good at the big end. Down into turn 1 they come. Ahrens content to follow at the moment. It's the battle for 8th position. Oh, and a little touch.
61 got such a better run out of turn 1 and tried to show the nose up the inside of the 54, which was opening the corner up for turn 2, and then knifed back down to the inside. Ahrens got caught out and now gets turned. The 08 has shows the nose way too late into turn number 4. Bill Hingston just a little bit too much too soon into turn 4, and unfortunately he's going to be beached.
As Ahrens and Mathis were doing battle, Hingston thought he would try to take advantage of it and dive down to the inside. We get a good replay of it as Hingston down inside Ahrens. Ahrens did not know he was there. They touched, both spinning. It's a good thing that Doug Weaver didn't collect Ahrens, who was right there in the racing line.
And this track is so wide, you can see the different lanes paved. It's 4 lanes wide, but it's really about 6 car widths. It's really tempting to just throw the car up the inside there, but there's really, it's what they would call the vortex of danger, Randy Popes coined. Exactly. And it's just not a smart passing zone unless you're already clear alongside. Coming from behind is not going to work.
Yeah, no question we're going to go full course yellow, and that's what we're hearing from race control, that we're going to do that one more time here with only 4 minutes left. This will probably do it, because I don't think they can extract that car and get back to green flag before the time expires. So we may well have this one finish under yellow. We hate for that to happen because it was such a good race, but Cliff Ira, vindicated by his tire choice, well out in front at the time of the yellow, over 4 seconds worth in front of Mason Workman. And Kevin Ruck has to settle for the bronze medal, it looks like.
Be interesting to see. I think the pace car may have missed Cliff Ira, so Ira is technically the pace car right now. If he keeps the pace slow enough, they might be able to tow that car out and resume with only 1 lap. They're already there to tow him out, and the IMS safety crew is extremely quick. There is an outside shot. We get maybe 1 lap of green flag racing here at the end.
A green-white checker would be kind of fun. With everybody packed up behind Cliff Ira. Cliff is saying, no, I think I'll just take my time.
The slower he goes, the more likely we are to get a green flag. So he may know that. I don't know if he can necessarily manipulate that, but there's the safety car. They're going to back him up big time. And now it's a race against the clock.
Great drone shots. Thanks again to our Apex crew for these fantastic pictures. And there's the 08 out of the gravel. If the safety vehicles can get restaged with 3 minutes left, we might be able to get it done. Hingston doing a great job of staying off the racing line so he doesn't drop gravel out. He's, staying on the grass as long as he can so he doesn't drop a big load of gravel out onto the racetrack. So the 36 Del Sol of Cliff Ira looking for his 2nd national championship. Making a good tire choice. Backing up his Super Touring Light Championship in 2014 out in California. Right behind him will be Mason Workman, who certainly might have something to say about it if we do get a restart. There's a lapped car in between the 2 of them. There's another lapped car between Workman and Kevin Ruck as well. Oh, we're going to go checkers next time by. That's the word from race control. So we're not going to get that restart that we had all hoped for. So that is the way they're going to finish, as the safety car will bring them across the line and the checkered flag will fly. Congratulations to Cliff Ira. Played his cards just about perfectly.
Yeah, he did a beautiful job of executing that race, even though there wasn't always a lot of racing involved in it. There was a lot of, no, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, before you, sir.
Oh, no, after you.
Yeah, he did a great job of managing that. It was such a smart race and a smart choice, too. We were basically wondering before we went live for this broadcast, what would you pick? What would you pick? And we were expecting the driver that came with the dry tires to end up on the top. He was the only one to really give it a go, and Cliff Ira will come across the start-finish line, across the bricks, fist pumping in the air, to earn a national championship in F production.
It's always a little anticlimactic when we do it behind the safety car, but it makes it no less valuable. That gold medal's just as good. Go ahead.
I don't think that's anticlimactic. Look at him. He is having, no one has had a better day. Even the other national champions. He is so excited. I'm glad that car doesn't have a roof so we can watch him right now.
Cliff Ira is a happy camper. Just look at that celebration. Fantastic job, Cliff. Well done, my friend. Started 2nd on the grid and just, played the cards perfectly. Made the right tire choice. Drove a really consistent and very conservative race. He is letting everybody here know that he is a happy camper to notch that 2nd gold medal.
He's going to wear himself out before he gets to Hayward on the pit lane behind Mason Workman. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of contact that ended Mason Workman affected some other drivers' races from Mason Workman, so that will be looked at, I'm sure, after the fact. But on the track, he'll cross in the silver position, and that is the Miata just entering your frame, well, right behind the lapped car in the gray there.
There's the gray Miata, the Mason Workman, and then Kevin Ruck in the sort of bronze-colored Acura Integra, and he will take the bronze in that machine. Kevin, as we mentioned, one of the picks of Sports Car Magazine to be on the podium. He's a two-time winner already, and he won it most recently from F Production when we visited the Daytona International Speedway back in 2015. So Cliff Ira celebrating. This is almost like his victory lap behind the safety car. Down the Hardman straight, all by himself, still gesticulating from the cockpit, hands in the air. You can't believe it. Look at him holding his helmet. Fantastic stuff. This is what we love to see, and you don't see that kind of jubilation in professional racing. No offense, but
I always did.
The professional racers are much more sanguine and jaded. Hey, we do this all the time. I win all the time. I don't really care. These guys, this is a big deal. This may be the biggest win of Cliff Ira's life, and he is happy to show it.
Well, and if we had a fully dry race, remember he started second on the grid. He could have easily been earned a win in a totally dry race, but to win a race in these challenging of conditions, when there's tire decisions to be made, when there's strategy to be involved. These are sprint races, and strategy isn't often a part of that. It's usually full out racing from green to checkered. He had brain power behind this one on top of driving execution, and that's going to make it even more special. We'll always remember the 2021 runoffs for Cliff Ira's winning this race because of the decisions that he made and the way he executed it.
Exactly, and the celebration afterwards.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of replays of those gestures, I'm sure, before this runoffs is over. So don't take anything away from Mason Workman finishing second, Kevin Ruck in third. Rick Harris comes home in fourth spot in that Acura. And should there be a penalty assessed to Mason Workman, he would be in a position to take that final step on the podium. As a disbelieving Cliff Ira works his way down the pit lane. And he will be joining our intrepid pit reporter Hayward Wagner down there under the canopy, although they might get him out in the air now because the rain has stopped. But Hayward was reporting to us off the air that it had begun to rain again, just slightly, but looks like that was just a brief little shower, and it has not returned. And those dry track conditions were all Cliff Ira needed to cement the victory. He's getting a lot of celebrations from the grid workers here as he works his way slowly down. He is still grabbing his helmet. Cannot believe his good fortune. And there's no good fortune about it. Good planning, good execution is what made this possible. And having faith in that Del Sol when nobody else did. That's certainly something to be said as well. Coming right to the yard of bricks. This interview will be in the open air, ladies and gentlemen, as the last couple, with the rains coming down, have been under the canopy. You can see the microphone of Hayward Wagner right down there next to our winner. Once he gets his helmet off and we can see that smiling face, Hayward will give us a rundown of it. Sam Henry came home in fifth spot. Charlie Campbell, a good run into sixth. Eric Prill sadly faded to seventh. Chuck Mathis in eighth. Doug Weaver and Larry Gallagher, your top 10. I'll tell you what, that is one happy camper. Let's go down trackside to Hayward Wagner to a very emotional Cliff Ira.
Cliff Ira, how does it feel to be the smartest man at the runoffs?
I don't think I'm the smartest one, Hayward. You know better than that. But I got to give a lot of credit to my crew, to Greg, my brother Greg, and Mark, and my cousin Andy, who are here helping all week. We've been on the grid before when it started raining and made the wrong decision. So you know it better than anyone. It's a gamble. You saw me at the start.
When we were at the start, I asked you if this was a gamble because it was the only way you thought you could win, to get lucky and have the right setup, or if this was the right way to go. And you said it was the right way to go.
Yeah, I think we had the car to run with them, but this, just like it worked out, we would have had a little more car if we were on slicks. So, boy, I love it when a plan comes together. You know, it's unbelievable. It's such an incredible feeling, and I really have to give a shout out to Jesse Prather. He's a good friend of mine, and he really built this car and collaborated with me on it. And it just, all the hours and all the whole COVID, you know what? I mean, this is just an unbelievable feeling.
Have you ever had a lap around a racetrack that was more fun than after the Checker?
Oh, I don't think so. It's probably worse that I had time to think about it, honestly. And it's just an unbelievable feeling. The runoffs is the pinnacle, man. And you get on top here, it's just a feeling like no other, especially at Indy. It's just incredible, incredible feeling.
Well, big congratulations to you. I hope you have enough energy left for a victory lap, because I think there's a couple of people that want to go with you.
Yes, I do. Let's go.
Congratulations.
No doubt about it. Cliff Ira is one happy camper. And if you think these races don't mean anything to these drivers, just look at the look on his face. That'll tell you everything you need to know about SCCA Club Racing and what the runoffs mean to these drivers, and especially when it's here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It just couldn't be a better feeling, I'm sure. Our second and third place finishers are down with Hayward Wagner.
Well, Mason, it was definitely a prod race. You just said you had better days. Do you think you had a little bit more?
No, I didn't have anything for Cliff. I was backwards in turn one on the first lap. I watched the entire field stream by me on both sides, and then just started picking them up and putting them down. You know, man, I was closing so fast on everybody, and we kind of did a hero or zero on the tires, and it almost worked.
Were those hand groove slicks?
They were. So a big thanks to Hoosier for taking care of me on those. You know, came up a little bit short. You know, it was an okay drive. It is what it is.
Well, congratulations on the silver.
Thank you.
And Kevin, I know you probably felt like you had this one under your control for a little while. Things dried out a little bit. It's a bronze. It could have been a gold. Is it frustration? Is it disappointment? Or is it just happy to be on a podium?
The first two. I mean, I came to the week, I'd be happy being on the podium in a dry race at this track, honestly. But I'm sorry, that was the car to have today, and I made the wrong tire choice. No matter what the tire choice would have been. Now, I mean, absolutely kudos to Cliff. That had to have been dicey at the start of that race, and he kept it on the track. And when I saw he was P3 after their first full course yellow, I looked in my mirror and I saw he had maintained that. I was like, oh, we're toast. Like, a good rain started in the middle of the race, and that helped a little bit, but then it just, without that keeping going, the front of the car just...
Well, it's another podium for you. I know it's not the one you want. It was a heck of a race. Great drive from you to keep it on the podium, even as the track went away from you.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. Thank you.
You can see the disappointment in Kevin Ruck's face because he wanted more out of this one, but he should hold his head up high. That's not all bad, man.
Yeah, I think he's kicking himself just for the tire choice. But
Exactly.
if that race had gone green the entire length, I think it would have looked a little different for Kevin Ruck on those wet tires. Wasn't necessarily the wrong choice for the weather, but maybe the wrong choice for the number of cautions we had in that race. And Mason Workman also, everyone made a different choice in this race, and I think everyone comes away with a different feeling from it, but none of the feelings are better than in that car right now.
Two passengers in that Del Sol taking the celebratory lap, and Cliff is still waving to his friends. The paddock area there off to his right, and that's who he's waving to. I'm sure he's got a lot of friends up along the fence who are celebrating his win. So congratulations to Cliff Ira, the 2021 champion of F Production at the 58th running of the runoffs. Here's our top 10 in the unofficial results. Cliff Ira, your winner by just about 3 seconds. Again, these times don't matter because it was behind the safety car. Mason Workman in second, Kevin Ruck in third. Rick Harris comes home to fourth. Sam Henry right up at the sharp edge in the early stages, faded to fifth. Charlie Campbell making a good drive up to sixth. Eric Prill again fading back to seventh. Chuck Mathis, Doug Weaver, and Larry Gallagher rounding out your top 10.
I talked to Larry's son, Patrick, just before the race. They were hoping for a top 10 by going conservative on the rain tire choice. They're going to be super happy with that from 23rd on the grid. But here's the start, some highlights.
Exactly. As you can see, a great run right at the front as Kevin Ruck got down there. But here comes Cliff Ira right on his back bumper as they come onto the front straightaway. And you can see Ruck looking for water, trying to cool those rain tires down. And this was the final denouement where Cliff Ira was able to take those dry weather tires, and then just a couple corners later, Mason Workman powered around the outside of Kevin Ruck, who I'm sure was kicking himself inside. A great battle here between Aarons and the 08 of Hingston, which eventually ended in tears with both of them spinning, bringing out our final full course yellow to extract Hingston from the gravel trap. We had hoped there'd be time to get back to the green, but it wasn't to be, with a finish behind the safety car. And Cliff Ira sees the checkered flag for the second time, and you can watch right now, the celebrations have already begun as Cliff Ira was pumping his fists and wiping a few happy tears out of his eyes as he thanks the good Lord for this win. Congratulations, Cliff. Well done. Thanks so much for being with us for this exciting F Production final, and also thanks to Mazda for being our broadcast sponsor here at the 58th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. For Tom O'Gorman and down in the pit lane, Hayward Wagner, I'm John Phippen. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you down the road.
Welcome to that magic realm. Between here and there, a no man's land, and everyone's land. Where great expectations grow, and rewards are given to the swift, the perceptive, and the daring. Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive. More power for your pursuit.